Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is SB Jimmy, and today we are going to be looking at the Savage Melee power set in City of Heroes 2019, and it is amazing. You're able to swipe your claws around, causing this bleed effects. You got Blood Frenzy. We're going to talk about this. But before we do, I want to let you guys know that if you like this video and you're interested in other power set videos, check them out on my channel and make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you are always kept up to date on the latest guides coming out. Savage Melee. Tear at your foes with deadly, animalistic attacks that primarily inflict lethal damage and cause additional damage over time. Savage Strike, Maiming Slash, Vicious Slash, and Savage Leap all grant stacks of Blood Frenzy. Each stack of this buff grants a small damage buff and endurance cost discount. You may have up to 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy active at a time. Blood Frenzy can be maintained, or it can be consumed to empower Shred, Rending Flurry, Bloodthirst, and Hemorrhage. Using one of these consumers while you have at least 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy offers an additional benefit to these powers, but will also leave you exhausted for a short time. While exhausted, you cannot build Blood Frenzy, and this is a power set available to Brutes, Scrappers, Stalkers, and Tankers. So whether or not you want to roll Savage Melee, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool on any of these classes, and you really get this awesome ability. They all get Savage Leap here. It's your tier 9, and if you check out my macros video, you will see there is a little post there, and it says, or maybe I think it's in the description, and it says how to bind Savage Leaps to your shift key so you can shift click and teleport anywhere. So check it out if you want that macro. Savage Strike, Maiming Slash are your choices at level 1, depending on what you are. If you're a Scrapper, we'll talk about Stalker afterwards because it's a little bit different. They got a couple changes, and then we'll talk about I think Tanker, Scrapper, and Brute. The only difference is Tanker and Brute get the actual AoE taunt. I think Scrapper just gets Confront instead of a real taunt. And then Stalker has a couple extra differences there as well that we'll get to. Yeah, they don't get Rending Flurry. Okay, we'll get to them. So, Savage Strike is a melee minor damage lethal with foe minor damage over time lethal, and it gives you +1 Blood Frenzy. Maiming Slash is a melee moderate damage lethal with minor damage over time lethal, and does foe minus speed with +1 Blood Frenzy. Shred is your tier 3. It's a melee cone, moderate damage lethal, foe minor damage over time lethal, and it gives your foe minus defense to all, which is pretty good. It is self minus Blood Frenzy, and there's a plus special, so we'll get to read about that one more. Vicious Slash is your tier 4, melee damage high. It does foe minor damage over time lethal. It has a knockdown effect already in there, which is nice, and self +2 Blood Frenzy. So Vicious Slash gives you a little bit more Blood Frenzy. Now, Rending Flurry, which the Stalker does not have, they change it out for, I guess, their Assassin's Frenzy or something, is a player-based area of effect, moderate damage lethal, foe minor damage over time lethal, and it spends your Blood Frenzy. Now, I get, and we'll read about it, it spends your Blood Frenzy, so that's kind of why I think we don't have it on a Stalker, because it wouldn't fit their sort of bursty play style, but it's lame that the Stalker doesn't get that extra AoE that everybody else gets. What's cool, though, is that the Stalker, with that Savage Leap teleport ability, it doesn't break stealth. It summons a pseudo pet when you teleport. So for all these other classes, you teleport into the Savage Leap into the enemy, and they start attacking you. But with a Stalker, you can just Savage Leap them, and they're not going to know the difference because it's not really you damaging them. So that is it's like a trade-off there in the area of effect that you can do, whether or not you would want to do this on a Stalker. You can have Bloodthirst on everybody. It's your tier 7, it looks like. Self plus HP plus health over time, which I like better than regen anyways. And then minus Blood Frenzy, because the more Blood Frenzy you have, the more it heals you. Hemorrhage is your tier 8, melee light damage lethal right? Foe special damage over time minus blood frenzy. Now we're going to read about hemorrhage because it says light damage, and you go, why am I taking that? There's a reason. And then we talked about Savage Leap enough. So let's go down the list here and let's find for Assassin's Frenzy. Using Assassin's Frenzy will grant you 2 stacks of Blood Frenzy if used while not hidden, and will grant 3 stacks if hidden. Using Assassin's Frenzy when not hidden will remove all stacks of Assassin's Focus, regardless if you critically hit or not, but that only takes melee damage as a set category. Bloodthirst takes healing. You focus for a moment and clear your mind to take a moment and recover your wounds. Bloodthirst will immediately heal you for a small amount and cause you to heal for a moderate amount of health over a short time. Bloodthirst consumes all stacks of Blood Frenzy. This power's heal over time effect grows with each stack of Blood Frenzy. Using this power with 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy causes you to become exhausted for a short time, but the duration of the heal over time effect is increased. While exhausted, you cannot gain Blood Frenzy. Here's the standard buildup that you get for Stalker at level 8. It looks like that's one of the differences as well. Let's see. Stalkers get buildup. Everybody else gets... it's hard to see. Oh, Rending Flurry, that's the difference. That's what they're trading. I guess, because you don't get a buildup any other way, it looks like. Right? Yeah, you don't get a buildup any other way if you're not a Stalker. Confront, and then Hemorrhage. You viciously tear at your foe, causing a light amount of lethal damage. So this is kind of like after you built up Blood Frenzy. Additionally, the target will suffer from lethal damage over time. Hemorrhage consumes all stacks of Blood Frenzy. This power's damage over time effect will scale with the number of stacks of Blood Frenzy. Using this power with 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy causes you to become exhausted for a short time, but the duration on Hemorrhage's damage over time effect is increased. While exhausted, you cannot gain Blood Frenzy. And it takes Taunt as well as melee damage if you are a Brute or a Tanker, but I'm not sure that that would be worth it, although there is some side damage proc you can get from Taunt that would be funny to throw in Hemorrhage, so it actually does some damage. Maiming Slash. You execute a savage slash at your foe's lower body, causing moderate lethal damage and minor damage over time. This foe will also have their movement speed reduced moderately. Maiming Slash grants 1 stack of Blood Frenzy, and that's why it has the slow movement set category, so you could get a couple of procs in there as well. The slow sets don't have great procs, but I believe there's like at least 1 or 2 damage ones you could throw in. That would be okay if you don't want to just 6-slot that because it's so fast anyways. There's your standard Placate, 12 for Stalker. Rending Flurry, you wildly slash at nearby foes to deal moderate lethal damage and cause minor lethal damage over time. This power consumes all Blood Frenzy and will deal additional damage per stack of Blood Frenzy consumed. If you have 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy while activating this power, its radius is greatly increased, but causes you to become exhausted for a short time. While exhausted, you cannot gain Blood Frenzy. So if you have 5 stacks, the radius is increased, but it looks like maybe the damage isn't increased. Maybe that would be a reason to do it on Stalker. I don't think radius is much of a problem, is it? Not enough to exhaust myself. Let me know in the comments if you have more experience with Rending Flurry than I do. I don't think that's worth it. I'd rather do Stalker with this. Sounds amazing. Savage Leap, you throw yourself at your distant foes while slashing and tearing wildly, dealing superior lethal damage and causing your foes to suffer additional minor lethal damage over time. And this gives you an immediate 3 stacks of Blood Frenzy, so you're able to use it all the time. Bum, bum, bum. It does have a pretty high base recharge, so you are going to want to be able to, like, you might even just triple slot straight recharge IOs to get that down. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. But you want to get it as low as you can. Savage Strike, you quickly tear your foe, dealing minor lethal damage and causing minor lethal damage over time, and this power can bruise an enemy, making them more vulnerable to damage. Savage Strikes grants you 1 stack of Blood Frenzy. Look at that, minus res to all, but that's only on tankers. Now I believe that's because it's the level 1 power. That's actually gone now. That's part of bruising, and I don't think that happens anymore. So +1 Blood Frenzy. Shred, you rapidly slash at your foes several times, causing a moderate amount of damage to all enemies in front of you and reduce their defense. Shred also causes minor lethal damage over time. This power consumes all stacks of Blood Frenzy and will deal slightly more damage per stack. Additionally, Shred has a 20% chance to immediately recharge itself for each stack of Blood Frenzy. Using this power with 5 stacks of Blood Frenzy, again, makes you become exhausted. There's your standard taunt, Vicious Slash. You tear at your foe with both hands, dealing high lethal damage and causing minor lethal damage over time. Foes struck by this attack have a high chance to be knocked down. And you can see the knockback set proc there, which you don't even have to slot for, and you get 2 Blood Frenzy. Everybody but Stalker, it looks like, gets Vicious Slash as well. Stalkers don't get Vicious Slash. Let's see it. Correct. They do not get Vicious Slash. What are they trading that for? 16? Oh, that's always the wrong one. What are they trading Vicious Slash for? At 6? Oh, Assassin's Frenzy. That's a, oh man, look at that. It's very similar too. I don't know if that's even, would you trade it for Assassin's Frenzy for a Stalker versus a Scrapper or Brute? Let me know down in the comments if you have a good build for Savage Melee, or if you want a good build, because I might be able to post and relate one back to you. Or if you know a good power set combination that somebody should try and you'd like to recommend. And as always, thank you guys for watching. My name is SB Jimmy, and I will see you in a little bit.